We advise the opinions and views of the hosts and guests do not reflect those of the station.
Everything we listen to, everything we watch, everything we read, everything we wear. Behind all our favorite things, there is an author, an artist, an inventor. Genuine, real, original. Pushing the limits of imagination and innovation for our comfort, our enjoyment. Making life interesting. Enjoy their efforts, respect them. They help shape our world.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Intellectual Property. I'm your host, Attorney Sarah Jane Sugitan. And tonight, we're still going to feature mediators from the Intellectual Property Office of the Philippines. And joining me on the set is Dr. Francisco Ramirez. June,
Yes.
good evening. Thank you
Good
for
evening.
being here. And Mr. Mauro Rene Tanchanco. Good evening, Rene.
Good evening.
Yeah, so I'll start off first. How did you get into intellectual property? It seems like such a highfalutin field, you know, and foreign to many of us who get into litigation. Rene?
Well, I was told by my friend and colleague, Dr. June Ramirez, about his being contacted by Vilmi Kipit, the executive director for mediation of IPO, that they're looking for mediators to spearhead the formal launching of mediation at IPO.
And that's how you joined.
Yeah.
Pero you've been mediator in the past? You've had experience as a mediator?
Yes, Dr. June and I have been with a foundation, Conflict Resolution Core Group Foundation, which trains a lot of government executives on how to conduct mediation and set up mediation, the mediation process in their particular offices.
Dr. June, you are, well, you're a doctor. Ano pong ini-specialize
I'm a
niyo?
dentist by profession, yeah.
You're a dentist by profession, and you're also a member of this group, yung core, Conflict Resolution Core Group.
Foundation.
So, nagtitrain po kayo ng government officials who are involved in conflict resolution. Tama po ba?
Tama po yan.
And in your experience, being a dentist, are you handling patent cases or usually po ang mga kaso na inilalapit sa Intellectual Property Office, either trademarks yan or
Usually,
science.
trademarks lang yung nahawakan namin.
And then yung mga tinetrain nyo po na government offices?
No, it's not with IP.
Not with
We're
IP.
training mediation, not under IP.
So ano pong mga
Well,
agencies
it's,
yun?
the group what we're in right now is Core Group. So it's a foundation, and we're the provider for teaching mediation in different government agencies under the Office of the President.
So iba-iba, hindi lang po
Iba-iba.
IP
The
only.
last that we handled was last year was the Department of Education.
Meron din po silang conflict resolution
Yes.
na functions. So in your experience po, how would you compare mediation to litigation, Dr. June?
Well, it's very much different. In litigation, you talk about merits of the case. In mediation, well, you come in empty-handed, then empty cup. And the thing that you have to extract from them is what is really important about the case. What do they want? Not like litigation. They stick to the facts. They stick to the rules.
Bottom line po, no? Kapag
Bottom line is
mediation.
there's somebody is right, the other one is wrong. So there would be judgment.
Last week po, I also interviewed two non-lawyers who are also mediators. And Rene, you are, well, you look like a lawyer, no? That's why I thought you're a lawyer. And mediation is an alternative to litigation.
Yes,
Tama po ba?
yes.
And are there advantages or disadvantages in your profile, in your background, in becoming a mediator for IP cases?
Actually, in mediation, the pure sense of mediation, it's all about the parties. It's all about what is important to them. And they're the only ones who can really express in as clear a way as possible. And here is where the mediator comes in. the mediator facilitates the whole process of communication such that the parties and their counsels get as clear as they can get about the issues, their concerns, what's important to them, and they get to express these things to the other party, to the other counsel. So, in the quest for clarity, the whole process makes it possible for the two parties to exhaust all possible options regarding the issues at hand. Everything comes from them, so we encourage them to really be very active in participating. Now, that's the only way where options can be generated coming from them, not from the mediator.
Not from the mediator.
And from those options, a win-win solution can have a good chance of being arrived at.
Why are you passionate po about mediation? How did you come about this advocacy?
Actually, in 2006, I've been looking for something that would give me a lot of fulfillment and satisfaction.
Hindi po kayo nagpare or
Actually, it's a fascinating aspect because in high school, before martial law, I was a seminarian.
mukha po kasi you have that aura.
Actually, I
You
was
have
a
that aura.
seminarian.
You are.
And going
kaya pala.
into UP at the time, I was in pre-med.
Pre-med. Oh.
Later on, because of personal circumstances, I shifted to Econ, and a lot of my friends were encouraging me to take up law, either at Ateneo or UP. No, I went into banking. But later on, I figured out that the bottom line of all these things, priest, doctor, lawyer, was simply, I was fascinated with people. And mediation was offered me that opportunity to really go deeply into what is important with all the people around me.
Nagkakalala po ba kayo sa med school? No, you don't go that
we
way
met
back.
at the conflict resolution.
The conflict resolution.
We met because Dr. June and he was the head of the internship. And after 5 days of training, these government executives had to go through internship in handling actual cases.
Dapat may hands-on.
POA, NLRC, DTI, human rights, DepEd. And we process them in actual cases, in how they would actually be handling the cases. And we enjoyed it a lot. We became friends through that internship.
Ay, yun naman, Dr. June, paano po
Yeah.
kayo, how did you become a dentist? Is it something that you've always wanted to do?
Not so.
Not so. Were you also a banker?
My father is a
okay.
dentist, and my mother really requested me because I am the junior. My name is the same with my father, so
Your dad.
I was really asked to take up dentistry.
To major in dentistry. But like Rene here, you're also interested in people and
Oh,
how
definitely.
to arrive at solutions.
Definitely.
What I admire about mediation as compared to litigation, as you know, I'm a lawyer, and well, we get caught up with procedure, with delays, and there are cases that have been pending for 4 years or more with the courts that mediation can solve in as fast as maybe a couple of months or
In
less.
30 minutes.
In 30 minutes, lalo na, di ba?
As long as both parties are open.
Are open.
Yes.
Okay. So ano po bang is there a psychological profile? Is there a certain personality that a mediator kumbaga has to possess in order to handle conflict resolution? Rene?
What Dr. June mentioned a while ago, the concept of empty cup,
Empty cup.
it's very essential. It disarms the parties to the extent that when we approach the parties, the first thing we say is we have totally no idea about the case, what their concerns are, what are important to them. So we are like a sponge where we take in as much information from them. We don't have to be technically well versed with what is at hand, but we strive to clarify with them through open questions what these things are to them from their perspective, from their point of view, not from ours.
Oo, not
So
from-
in that sense, it empowers the parties to think about the concerns, the issues clearly, and it gives them that magic moment where in striving to answer a question, they say, teka muna. You know, while I was talking, this came up in my mind. Then the options come from there.
How about you, Dr. June, when you mediate, two parties are in front of you, what goes through your mind and what do you want to achieve when you facilitate discussions like that?
Well, the first thing that I want to know is what is their problem. Well, I always come in as with an empty mind, an empty cup. So through asking questions, so I have to hear their narratives, their story. Then out of what they are telling me, then through that I ask questions. So I would know their problems. Now, as they talk about their problems, they tell me their demands. So I explore that. Where is the demand coming from? So behind the demand is the interest. That is what is important. Then now when I see their interest, I will focus on the interest and start creating options based on the interest.
And it's very interesting that you can, kumbaga parang discern, may process of discernment when there are two parties in front of you. And of course, they can also get up. They can
Well,
get
usually
caught up
we
with
do
technicalities.
private calls. So it's a one-on-one thing. So you cannot just get the interest and both parties are present.
Okay. So, yung pong determination na yun, kung mag-one-on-one or paghaharap niyo yung parties, that depends on the mediator?
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So, may leeway po kayo. And in as much as, kasi parang, ako, I haven't witnessed a process of mediation, pero I'd like to compare it to a court, but not necessarily a court process. May judge, and that is yung role
It's
po
very
ng
much different.
mediator. Or,
Very much different.
Pero at the same time, nagkakaroon ng decision. There is an end to the dispute.
Well,
So,
the decision comes from them,
from them, okay.
not
And
from the mediator.
from the
Yeah.
mediators.
Actually, we'd like to go back to the matter of intent. Usually, when people hear mediation, they talk about the intent being to solve the problem, to resolve the conflict. But a mediator really has the singular intent of helping clarify the concerns from the perspectives of the parties. If after the whole process of clarifying, the parties determine that there's no bridgeable option, then at least they're clear about their next step.
Yes, that's important.
Yes, but like in IP, there are instances where parties are clear about they'd like to have the case tested first for a BLA decision. And after one loses and one wins, they might have a different perspective when appeal comes and they undergo mediation again. Yes.
Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, we have here Mr. Mauro Rene Tanchanco and Dr. Francisco Ramirez, and I'm going to ask them to invite you to consider mediation as an alternative to litigation, particularly in the field of intellectual property. So kung meron po kayong gustong idemanda and then copyright-related case and patent or trademarks, the venue is the Intellectual Property Office of the Philippines, and right now it is mandatorily referred to mediation, and I'm going to give this floor now to Mr. Rene Tanchanco first. This camera, please.
Yes, good afternoon. We'd like to encourage all of the stakeholders of IPO, the stakeholders, the councils, and the parties to take advantage of the mediation process. It's an opportunity for both parties to have clarity in expressing and thinking about their concerns, expressing it to one another, and seeing if there are any bridgeable options based on what is really important to you. So it's it's an opportunity where you'll have a go at a win-win solution if one is possible. And hopefully we get to see you. And here you have the full autonomy to decide whether or not you'd like to go through mediation, who the mediator you'd like to have, and whether or not you'd like to go into a settlement with one another.
I understand lahat po ng proceedings are of course confidential.
Yes,
Yes.
these are all covered by RA 9285, the ADR law of 2004, and all proceedings, especially the private caucus sessions, are covered by confidentiality.
Okay, now I'd like to ask Dr. June Ramirez to invite our viewers to experience mediation. This camera.
Yeah, to all stakeholders, I would like to invite you to try mediation. Well, it's very much different from litigation. You would save money, you would save time, and if you want results, then you can have results in mediation in a few meetings rather than in litigation. It will take you years. So do try mediation. It's for you.
Thank you very much. Please don't go away. Intellectual Property will be right back.
Everything we listen to, everything we watch, everything we read, everything we wear. Behind all our favorite things, there is an author, an artist, an inventor. Genuine, real, original. Pushing the limits of imagination and innovation for our comfort, our enjoyment. Making life interesting. Enjoy their efforts. Respect them. They help shape our world. Everything we listen to, everything we watch, everything we read, everything we wear. Behind all our favorite things, there is an author, an artist, an inventor. Genuine, real, original. Pushing the limits of imagination and innovation for our comfort, our enjoyment. Making life interesting. Enjoy their efforts. Respect them. They help shape our world.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back on Intellectual Property. I'm your host, Attorney Sarah Sugitan, and joining me this evening are two accredited mediators from the Intellectual Property Office of the Philippines, Dr. Francisco Ramirez and Mr. Mauro Rene Tanchanco. But before we go back to them, I'd like to thank the World Intellectual Property Organization, the Intellectual Property Office of the Philippines, and David Salon, the best in European hairdressing. Okay, Mr. Rene Tanchanco, just before the break, I was asking, do you need to, as a mediator, and both of you are part of this conflict resolution core group you train government officials in handling
Yes.
disputes. Do you have to somehow take care of yourself then as a mediator, especially when you are bombarded with dysfunction of having to face a lot of disputing parties or conflicting interests every day, or at least every so often? How do you take care of yourself?
Not
as a
really. We
mediator?
have a word that encapsulates the whole thing, and it's empathy. Putting oneself in the other person's shoes. So the whole process is never about us as mediators. It's all about them. So in seeking to put ourselves in their shoes, we listen to them, we acknowledge their feelings, what are the important aspects of what they're trying to express. And what are unclear, we clarify through questions. But on a personal basis, no, we don't get bombarded, as you said a while ago. We actually are fascinated to the extent that there's a lot of diversity in how people
Create
address
problems.
situations.
Address situations.
How they face issues and concerns, the diversity from which they come, the backgrounds, their experiences, and there's a lot to clarify. But there are those magic moments where, in clarifying those things, in seeking to answer what the mediator asked, the questions facilitate and help the parties in thinking through their feelings. Why is it that they feel so? because something so important to them was affected. And in clarifying what is important to them, they are then able to address the situation in terms of, so this happened, what am I now going to do? What would I like to achieve? Where would I want to go? And these are the limitations. It's empowering them to think through the situations and decide on their own where they would like to proceed.
How about you, Dr. June? Have you handled an IP case, or I mean, what are the challenges in handling cases under mediation?
Well,
for
handling IP cases is not that difficult because
That's good to hear.
yeah, because you're dealing with let's say trademark, so it's more business related. It's more on a technical thing, not like in the courts, which is also I am also a court annex mediator, and emotions are not really high in IP.
In IP, unlike in
Yeah.
court,
In the courts,
court cases.
in
oo.
court cases, especially in the lower courts, in the MTC, yung mga away kapitbahay na sinasabi,
Yes, barangay
it's quite
cases.
barangay cases. It's quite hard because emotions are really involved. And
How do you tone down, kumbaga, or at least, let them, do they need to do away with their emotions, or to
no,
take
no, no,
rational-
no. In mediation, we allow them to pour out their
to pour
emotion.
out, to get mad, and
We
everything.
are there to listen. We empathize with them. We listen because these people need somebody that they could talk to, express themselves, and tell their problems. Now, if they see that you are there to listen, then you can easily get their interest.
You say you train government officials po when you handle mediation,
Not
to handle
necessarily
mediation.
officials, government employees.
Government employees. Ano po yung usual, kumbaga, na difficulties on their part that they meet when they, I mean, do they do anything? Syempre, di ba may mga preconceived notions or nakasanayan na po na habits that they might be doing na negative naman ang effect when they go through mediation?
Yeah, if we're dealing with people in positions, it's always the authority behind them.
It gets into the head eh. I mean, yung patawag doon, yung parang power play or ano
Yes.
po.
Well, you can
It's
see
human nature, I
in
guess.
mediation, you have to be impartial. Now, these people who are in a certain position, they're so used of being an authority person, so their tendency is to tell the person what to do.
Ah,
So
okay.
it's
It's a
mediation is
stumbling
the
block.
other way around.
Tama.
It's what the person like to do. It's, you don't tell them. You extract it from them what is really important to them.
Okay.
There's a difference.
Oo nga po. There's a difference, yes. And
Yes,
it's
yes.
I think it's human nature, maybe a natural tendency to tell people what to do if you are a person in authority.
Yeah, that's why as a mediator you have to be aware. You have to be aware. That's the word, awareness. That you are a mediator. You always wear one hat, and that is a hat of the mediator.
An impartial mediator who will
Right.
draw out the bottom line, the interests of the
It's a
conflict.
good
Yes.
word, draw out.
Oo,
That's a
draw
You
out.
always draw it from them. You always empower them. You allow them to think, and you allow them to decide.
On the part naman po of the parties, and I'm talking in general, not just IP cases, usually when they start the process of mediation, do they also have preconceived notions na, I mean, do they feel helpless normally? Or, do they get so mad at the other party na irrational naman yung gusto nilang results? Meron di po
Well,
ba
there are
mga ganun?
cases like that. Yung away kapitbahay, mostly it's like that.
Minsan over a dog lang yun eh, or boundary dispute.
Well, there's so many stories about.
There are many
That's not just
stories.
over a dog.
In IP,
Yes, Rene.
the emotions come in usually when there are raids conducted. That's where we have cases where the owners of those companies which suffer the raid, and later on a court decision decides that they were the legitimate owners of a mark. So there are emotions involved.
Oo.
So you just have to listen, hear them out, and go back on track and go back to what they would like to do with the situation. But one thing I'd like to tackle for IP issues is there's an advantage for counsels and the principals. There's a peculiarity in IP that a lot of cases are related to one another.
Talaga po?
Yes. So they have a case at the Court of Appeals, they have a case at RTC, criminal, civil, and they have cases in IP. So when the mediator sits on a particular file case or two cases, the lawyers, the counsels, also want to include in the talks the cases that are with the
Court of
RTC, the
Appeals,
Court of Appeals, even on appeal with the Office of the Director General at IP. And they include all these in the talks.
That's
So
possible naman po.
That's
It's
the
okay.
peculiarity of IP cases, where they have a compromise agreement on one case and it includes all the other cases in all the other venues.
And that's a good thing. I mean, if it can be
Yes.
settled in mediation, it
Yes.
puts a stop, or at least, it puts a stop basically
It's
to
a
the
win-win
litigation.
because
It's a win-win.
both parties are very happy. In fact, sometimes it stalls because one party wants the totality of all the cases included, while the other is still hesitant about one particular case.
I can see how IP cases, or at least litigants, can also have emotions running high, especially kung may property issue na. I mean, like raids. Kumbaga may tangible aspect na yung intellectual property. You already have a store carrying the trademark, or you already have merchandise carrying the trademark. But normally, it's just a dispute over the name, the logo, the brand, or maybe the formula in case of patents. Dr. Jun, have you handled the patent case? Marami din po bang patent cases?
No.
Mostly po trademarks.
Mostly it's trademark cases.
Mostly mga businessmen po, kumbaga. I remember merong lumapit sa akin before na he received a demand letter to take down the name, his trademark, the name that he's using for his establishment. The other party was claiming that it's a registered, he registered it ahead of time. And this worried guy, this worried party was thinking, I have to take down my sign, I have to change my my letterhead, my corporate, my calling cards and everything. So, I mean, the emotions weren't high for him as well, but he was, he was aware na he has to make some changes in his business. So, ganun po ba normally yung worries ng trademark dispute?
A lot of in IP, a lot of the parties are represented by counsel. And the thing we noticed about the counsels is the going concern aspect of business. Meaning, okay, there's a conflict now, but it's important for our client to move on. So on that basis, they clarify first what are negotiable, what are non-negotiable, where they can give concessions, what is really important to them, this is not negotiable. But the bottom line is, as Dr. Jun said a while ago, what is the primary interest of the parties? To move on with the business. So they move along that premise.
And that's how you, as mediators, also view the discussion or the dialogue
Along the line of
along
their
those-
primary interest.
the primary
Yes.
interest. Kasi there's a business aspect nga to intellectual
Yes.
property, no?
That is what is important for them. Is the business aspect. That's why they come up with a win-win solution. They settle.
For all cases, there's always a win-win solution po ba? I mean, can that be a general formula even for, I don't know, for any dispute?
Well, if they discover later on in clarifying things that there is a bridgeable option for a win-win situation, that's good. But if at the end of the whole mediation process, the mediator did all he could to clarify both ends, but the parties realize that at that particular point in time, they would like to pursue an option which is not a win-win solution. Let's say to have it tested at BLA. Then they're at least very clear about their next step and they're pretty much comfortable with it.
Clear. How about you, Dr. Ju? What do you think of that? When parties realize that they don't want a bridgeable solution, would rather have it tested
Well,
in
that is
litigation?
when parties would come up to a position already, that is where it's hard for the mediator to move them. Well, sometimes that would be the end of it. If one party would say, this is it. If not this, we terminate. So they already have a position. So we would still try to explore if there would be other options. We can go around whatever their position would be. And if it's a dead end, then
they move on.
The mediation would fail, and they would go back to litigation.
Go back to litigation. Again, thank you very much for joining me tonight, Mr. Rene Tanchanco and Dr. June Ramirez. These gentlemen joining us tonight are accredited mediators of the Intellectual Property Office of the Philippines. So if you have a pending dispute with the Bureau of Legal Affairs, or even a court case pending with the RTC or a case on appeal, do consider mediation with the Intellectual Property Office of the Philippines. It is now located at number 28 Upper McKinley Road in McKinley Hill Town Center, Taguig City. Ayan, check out the website www.ipophi.gov.ph. Ayan, consider mediation for bridgeable solutions and win-win situation. Ayan, so we really encourage mediation as an alternative to litigation to put an end to disputes in a much shorter period of time. Again, thank you for joining me tonight here on Intellectual Property, here also on GNN, where we bring you intelligent programming. Join us again next Friday night for another edition of Intellectual Property.
Everything we listen to, everything we watch, everything we read, everything we wear. Behind all our favorite things, there is an author, an artist, an inventor. Genuine, real, original. Pushing the limits of imagination and innovation for our comfort, our enjoyment. Making life interesting. Enjoy their efforts. Respect them. They help shape our world.